Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Marhar Darkside. This board features Marhar's new age camber, which is basically a camber 2.0 that comes down and has a slight flat spot before an ever so small micro rocker. Basically it rides like a broken in traditional camber, which is going to give you all the load, pop, snap, and drive out of this board. This board's available in 151, 151 wide, 154, 154 wide, 158, 158 wide, and 161. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a day that had overcast skies, snow falling at times, average temps, chopped chunder, slush, firm fast corduroy, kind of just a mix of all spring-like conditions, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. This is your standard run-of-the-mill twin freestyle flex. Softer tips, stiffer midsection. Now let's talk about the differences between this one and last year's. That midsection is a little bit stiffer than it was, while the tips get a little bit softer right where that micro rocker is before the tip kick. This gives you a softer area to press and play with, but that center section gives you more stability. You will get some chatter, and that does slightly resonate back underfoot, so be aware of that. But by and large, that stiffer section through the middle that comes down right before the flat section in the tips is a lot more stable. It cuts through chop and chunder a lot easier, but if you do hit something more aggressive, it tends to jar and just send reverberations through the whole board. As this is an American-made board, they always tend to be a little more damper, and Marhar is exactly that. It just feels a little bit more damper due to the construction methods that they use. What I like about this camber profile is that it feels like a board that you've ridden for 100 days. It's well broken in, but it's still retained its snap. It's easy to load, and when you roll back on the tail, it pops. So launch that side hit, gap over that cat track gap, and ollie over that family of fat skiers that's in your way. You're not gonna have to worry about it. When it comes to jumps, small, medium, and even large jumps, it's gonna be able to handle them just fine. This board has pop when you load it up and you go off the lip, or you can be lazy and let it throw you and you're still gonna get a little bit of snap. As I said about the flex, they made it a little softer in the tips. So you've got this nice sweet spot right before the up kick, and you can really press into it. But if you try to manhandle it, you'll overpress it and it will buckle on you. So you can actually tone it down and get a better butter out of this board, whether you're popping a 180 and pressing into it, doing a 90 going sideways, or just spinning around on your tail. You're not gonna have to worry about it. This board swizzles and sizzles. Now, those sweet spots carry over to how it jibs. That's where you wanna be when you lock into a nose or a tail press and it sits on them. And if you're being a little more laid back, you're gonna get a nice deep press. But if you're more calculated and aggressive, you're gonna overflex the board and it's gonna buckle on you. When you go sideways, it cradles right around the feature, it locks in, and it holds it absolutely perfectly. With the softer tips, you lose some of that drive out of the tail when you're carving. So short, tight, quick carves are easy to engage and initiate, and they grip, and you can really torsionally twist this board. But when you get into medium mellow carves or deep, hard, aggressive carves, it loses its power and it doesn't grip as aggressively or rip as deep of a carve anymore. I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying it doesn't have the power that it used to. So you kind of want to tone it down, because if you're super aggressive with it, it'll fold and wash out on you. Who's this board for? The all-around park rider that wants a little bit of a damper ride. So I do think that I preferred last year's flex pattern a little bit more. It was just a little stiffer, so you got a little more power out of it. You lose that with this one, but you do gain that stiffness underfoot and a little bit more of a damper ride. It makes it a little more versatile for cruising the mountain, but you lose that power when you're trying to aggressively carve. It's a twin park board, so you're really not aggressively carving as much as you could with it. Overall, I must say this, it is nice to hop on a Marhar board. There's just a consistency with their decks that I love. You get on and you know what you're gonna get. Comparable boards, the Amplid Singular Twin, the Capita Indoor Survival, the GNU Headspace. Binding recommendations, the Rome Vice, the Now Select, the Ride C6. This has been my review of the Marhar Darkside. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you gonna buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing here, and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video. And the other thing that I want to talk about is if you look at the graphics of any of the boards behind me that are Marhar, they just didn't put the current year graphics on them because they want you to know that you can do custom graphics with them. So if you like what this review is about and you want to do a custom graphic with them, check out their website.